I will say this to your enduring credit, and it should be enduring, as in this should be immortalized forever in the minds of all who care about journalism. You were an early adopter of the fact that my journalism might even be a real thing. That was back in the spring when we last talked, I think, because of
Yeah.
the original sort of set of episodes we did about Belichick and Jordan Hudson et al. And I don't know. I think history will smile upon you, man.
Thank
I
you.
think history will smile upon you, and Lebitard shall be reduced to a smoldering pile of sweaty rubble.
Well, when it comes to praising you, Pablo, which is a subject you don't seem to shy away from, I was listening to I think it was This American Life. It was an Ira Glass production.
Yeah.
And he was talking about you and saying how you guys had done some work together. And to hear Ira Glass praising you, I'm like, well, not that I needed any more validation for your work, but to me, that's the highest of praise. If Ira Glass is saying this guy knows what he's
Got
doing,
the real tweed jacket behind you.
oh my
You
God!
got
I
the
mean,
intelligentsia.
seriously, it's like I don't get jealous over normal things. The fact that Ira Glass was talking about you like that, I'm like, I wonder if Ira Glass would ever mention me in such reverent tones, because that would make me feel complete. So
I'm gonna do the thing that I can obnoxiously do in a way that has been established to be quite obnoxious. I'm gonna go and tell Ira Glass that he should listen to today's show on 98.5 Sports Hub because he comes up. Part of what I do, and yes, look, part of I think the amusement of all of this is, I do a show that reads on some level as highbrow. And so when I do stuff that reads as lowbrow, various people in my business are like, what are you doing? And then even worse for those people, when you guys, the people on Boston Sports Radio, the finest sports radio show, I would argue, in the New England area.
No one's going to argue with
no
you.
argument.
Without any journalistic compromise on my part saying that. I think there is wait a minute. So why is this resonating? What's happening here? Is this all a bit? And I am here to say, I refuse to acknowledge even the slightest possibility that any of this has been tongue-in-cheek. I take this all as sincere, and I appreciate that, and I will take it to my grave as such.
And Pablo, just to further your point, and then we'll move on to the actual thing going on, is the Boston Globe did an article yesterday, talking to Shakespearean scholars about what Shakespearean character represents Belichick's fall the best. So, I mean, you saw it from the beginning, and it to me, it's this is not hyperbole. To me, it's the most fascinating story since in 20 years I've been doing this, because it is Shakespearean and it is tragic. And it's almost like at a certain point, you're just like, dude, you could really help this out by just being a person.
Get it together.
Yeah, just get it together. But, he's a bully and a prick, but whatever. I'm saying that, not Pablo. So Pablo,
King Lear, by the way, is my choice.
Okay, King Lear. It was a character I'd never heard of, to be honest with you. I'm not a Shakespearean
We didn't
scholar.
read the whole article.
No, I did. No.
Boring up to a point.
The one that seemed the best was about a Roman emperor that went to a smaller, I don't know. Anyway, it was a character I'd never heard of, but that's not saying much. All right. So Pablo, you had moved on and you broke, big stories in basketball and other stuff, but we're focused on the Belichick thing.
Yes.
So you got this audio. Where was the audio from, and what is going on in that audio? We've played it, but just kind of take us through it.
Yeah, so it is audio. It is also video. And for the audio audience, I think you can fully appreciate it because the texture of what's happening here is both recognizable to anybody who has had an experience at a workplace where someone who you're not sure has any authority over the workplace comes in with all of the projected expertise that slows down any number of jobs that you're actually supposed to do. And so this is on the set of a show called Coach. It is the show that was co-hosted by Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia and Mike Lombardi. It was done on the set of NFL Films in Mount Laurel, New Jersey last fall during the football season last fall. It's the job that Belichick was doing before he got hired at Carolina. It's the job, I think, that is kind of the decoder ring when you talk to people in and around that set as to what the inner circle of North Carolina football is actually like right now. And a big part of that is because Jordon Hudson was that aforementioned authority who no one really knew. This is how they met her. This is tape from episode 1 of the show, in which Bill Belichick's then 23-year-old girlfriend shows up and is suddenly their boss.
Which is fascinating on a couple levels. One, if you put yourself in the shoes of a 23-year-old that wanted to get into like the entertainment industry, you would think that you would just sit and watch before you started butting in with your own opinions. But she didn't know about Adobe Photoshop, so you have to give her credit for that. And then, but what's even more interesting is Belichick's noises he makes are fascinating. That he didn't know it was a live mic, and both of them are having a conversation about how to do television right, not knowing they have a mic on their lapel, is also interesting. But his like acquiescence to her, like his just going with what she says, is really interesting. You know, it does show a dynamic of their relationship that we have not seen. What was your take on that?
Yeah, look, Belichick's, his whole motto, as you guys know as well as anybody, is do your job. And so all these people are there to do their job. These are the graphic designers, producers, people who put microphones onto your collar to record your voice into a control room. And Belichick is sitting there almost quietly, but occasionally just sort of like, literally throat clearing as Jordon Hudson takes the controls. And when you say that this is all, I should be very clear about this. This is video that was never released. This is audio that had never been heard before publicly until I published it. And the reason I did was because it is this window into what it's like around Bill Belichick, age 73 right now, in which the guy who used to yell, do your job at people, is letting his young girlfriend, and again, it's not the age gap thing, although that's certainly part of the texture, it's power. Who does he give power to in his new life as a public figure? And in this control room, in this set, in this scene, what you get is Belichick trusting Jordon Hudson to boss everybody around, even though, in this case, she reveals that she does not actually know nearly as much as she is saying, as she is insulting and condescending to the various people whose jobs it is to actually work on the show. And also, to your point, she is whispering to him, but whispering directly into a live microphone.
Stunning.
That was heard by an entire control room of people, which just reflects, if nothing else, the grand irony of like, I know how to do your job on this set, and you're whispering into their literal recording devices as if you didn't know that, I guess.
Well, and I'm glad you brought
That's not graphics, though.
Yeah,
that's her expertise.
It's not Adobe Photoshop, but yes,
Adobe Photoshop.
Pablo, on the subject of irony, because you could make a case if these people were doing their job to Bill's satisfaction, he wouldn't, and Jordan would not be getting involved with it. But I think the greater irony is when all this is going on and they're sitting down and they're having arguments about the graphics and they're doing this TV show, all this time, Bill's not doing his job. And if Bill were doing his job better from the moment he accepted the job at North Carolina, when it came to recruiting, when it came to building relationships with players and the families and keeping an eye on Lombardi and the players he was bringing in, they wouldn't be in this mess. Nobody would care about any of this stuff because he would be coaching a football team with a winning record that somehow looked like it was on the ascendance. But since Bill is the one not doing his job, instead he's being consumed with all this other stuff, that's why we find ourselves talking about it.
Well, in fairness, this was before the North Carolina job, correct?
Oh, this was the job he had in the fall of 24. He gets hired in December 24.
Okay.
But here's the parallel, and I'm actually really glad you brought up why this feels like the story of today. It's because what I'm reporting is that it is the story of today. This is what it's like around him now. There are Matt Patricia in this video, by the way. There's a producer in the video on our YouTube channel, and there's Matt Patricia, and both of them are just like silently staring into the desk as they have to listen to Jordon Hudson go on and on in front of Bill Belichick while Bill Belichick does nothing to corral this entire experience. And so part of the thing about the inner circle is that who Belichick trusts. Look, it's Mike Lombardi on the football side. Mike Lombardi was on this set, by the way, rolling his eyes at Jordon Hudson. Mike Lombardi, we separately report in this episode, is the person who told multiple people, this is a follow-up to my original reporting that became the thing that I released and got known for and then got killed for. Mike Lombardi is the person who told multiple people around the North Carolina program that Jordon Hudson was no longer allowed or welcome in the football building. They do not get along. Meanwhile, Jordon Hudson is there bossing everybody around, and everybody on the football side is like staring daggers into the desk, hating their lives. While Jordon Hudson goes on about how she has this graphic design experience because she designed Bill Belichick's website. And I encourage you to go to www.billbelichick.com and just see the masterpiece, because part of the fun of it is that the title of the website has a typo in the word Belichick. And it's just like, what are we even doing at this point? And all of this is both metaphor for the present and also the reality of the present.
And and I like that you make the point that it's not just about her being younger. When it was younger, it was odd. And then when I knew something was afoot is when the Instagram photos started coming out, because I'm like, there's no way in a million years I'd let a girl put these photos of me up, like, let alone I'm not Bill Belichick. And then it spun into this thing. So it is about like just this guy that gave this facade of being this, like, real alpha leader type that, was smarter than everyone and talked down to everyone. In reality now is just being led by the hand by a 24-year-old girl who doesn't know what she's doing and who is almost comically bad at these roles she's trying to play for him, right? Like the PR job that she's done for him couldn't have gone worse. That's not wrong saying that, correct?
Oh, this video is the thing that explains the CBS interview. So CBS, by the way, I am told, CBS this morning, Sunday morning, had more than a half hour of footage that they could have released about Jordon Hudson that is not entirely dissimilar from what I released. Simultaneously, you may recall this Hulu docuseries, which was announced. Jordon Hudson was the person who signed off on the paperwork. You can go file records requests and see that. It's Jordon Hudson signing off on that because she's the chief operating officer of this whole media enterprise with Belichick. What happens there, of course, is that the team is so horrible that they don't want to do the docuseries episodically anymore, so the deal is dead. That was the deal that Jordon Hudson had engineered because she didn't want to do Hard Knocks with NFL Films, right? And so the question has always been, if you were to do an honest portrayal of what it's like to be in the room in a docuseries format around Belichick in the present tense, age 73, with this young woman whose age is, to me, secondary, if not tertiary, to the actual question of control. Who controls this program now? What you would get is something like the video that I published, which is, again, not a thing where I'm like, oh my God, look at this pull quote. It is, feel the unbelievably funny, for us, tension of having to coexist in this strange bubble in which no one will tell Belichick no, and the people who keep on telling him yes are Michael Lombardi and Jordon Hudson.
Which leads to the question, if Michael Lombardi was smarter, could someone smarter, because Lombardi is an idiot. I mean, an idiot. You read that dumb thing he sent to the boosters. It read like a sixth grade book report with his mile-long quotes. But if there was someone smarter who could challenge Bill a little bit, are you, based on what you've heard and what you know, could that have, is Lombardi like a perfect stooge for this all gaining momentum?
I think there is Bill Belichick with two angels, so to speak, on his shoulders. And he has chosen two people who uniquely and desperately need him to be employed. And that is the dynamic here. The greatest coach of all time, when he was in New England, as you guys covered his run, his tenure, his dynasty as this archetype of one way of doing things. What you now see is what happens when that support system, the structure, and look, I'm not here to take sides in the Kraft versus Belichick thing, but clearly the Patriots organization had a structure around him. He had confidants and advisors, assistants around that building who did not like, by the way, Michael Lombardi. And some of the people in that building, their job was to counterbalance what Bill did not know and could not know. One of them being how to read a room, others being, how does this guy who, again, Kraft called him an idiot savant. So that means that there are some deficiencies that needed to be compensated for by others around the building. The Patriots provided that to the tune of the greatest run in modern football. Removed from that, left to his own devices and these two angels on his shoulder, you get North Carolina football.
Oh, it's so great.
So, in terms of his ongoing employment in North Carolina, do you think they have smoothed things to the point right now? I mean, we all saw the statements; they were very brief from Bubba and from Bill to make it look like everything's fine and everything's going along. Will it continue that way? Do you think, Pablo, at least for this season?
I said that the line should be set at one season, and I've always leaned under. I think right now the question, if you're North Carolina, is sunk cost, meaning the all-in investment into the Bill Belichick's administration is over $59 million. So that's, by the way, one of the finest public institutions of education in America.
Right.
This is taxpayer money, public money, right? Belichick, the number one highest paid public employee in North Carolina. Michael Lombardi, the sixth highest paid. Bubba Cunningham, it's worth remembering here, the AD of North Carolina did not want Belichick. The chancellor of the university did. Another member of the board of trustees did. Those two people, I just can only imagine the I told you so's that may be going their way, either behind their back or to their faces at North Carolina, as the biggest mess in college sports is now on their doorstep. But for me, the question is, in the offseason, as North Carolina literally cannot beat a Power 4 team, they're getting blown out all of the time. What do you do with that? Can you cut ties? Can you figure out an exit? I think that is likely, but the stubbornness of not wanting to refuse, or rather the stubbornness of just denying that this entire thing is a loss that you have to take. There is a bit of a metaphor in that too. Like when you just acknowledge this was a whole mess and we should never have done it.
I use this as a life lesson to my kids. They know I'm obsessed with it, but I'm like, this is a great lesson. I mean, it just, the inclination to treat people poorly while you're having success, like that's not, and also when you're, like you said, when you're just surrounding yourself with people that won't tell you no, that leaves you open. No one's perfect. No one has the intelligence to do everything. Like you need like a village.
Correct.
And so in that refusal and that, ego is just so great to see taken down. All right. Well, Pablo Torre, no matter what Dan Le Batard says, I think you're the best. And if that exposes me to slings and arrows, I will take them. Pablo Torre finds out he's doing God's work. Pablo Torre, thank you so much. In all seriousness, thank you so much for coming on. We love having you on and appreciate it.
In all seriousness, love talking to you guys. And also in all seriousness, I wish you were my boss.
Yeah, I know. It seems like I'm like way smarter. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Pablo Torre, thank you so much for the time, sir.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
I appreciate it. There you go. Pablo Torre.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.